I have a small finished object. See what had happened was. So a few videos back, we showed you some inspo pics, things we've been collecting from TV shows or whatever. And I showed you this scarf, and it was a really simple scarf, an infinity scarf. And it was kind of like a color block thing. So one section was just solid gray, and then the rest of the scarf was yellow and white stripes. And I was like, that's really cute, really simple. I like it. And so I'm just, puttering around the house and looking at my yarns. And I have this yarn that I have been wanting to use for so long because it's like all these pretty pinks and black and white. And I have a striped yarn, I have a speckled yarn, and then I had a solid pink. And I was like, oh, these three together are just gonna look amazing, and I'm gonna make my scarf out of this. So I start swatching, and I'm just like, I don't wanna make my scarf out of this. Because it turns out I did not want the scarf to be fingering weight. Y'all know I love my fingering weight yarn, but I felt like I needed some chunks, some bulk, some heft. And so I had this yarn that I bought sometime last year, and I had one skein in black and one skein in off-white, and I did not know what I was going to do with it. And I was like, now I do, because it's a tied-on yarn, so they just take different fibers and tie knots all along the way to change the different fibers. And that became the striped section of my scarf. So the yarn is called, the brand is Fezza, and the yarn is called Alp Dazzle. And I just did all single crochet because you're not trying to do different stitches with this. Yeah. And so this became the striped section of my scarf. Then I was like, well, what am I gonna do with the other side? Because I wanted something that had like maybe a little bit of texture for it. So something would be a little tweedy or something. It had to be the right weight, because it turned out chunky wasn't what I wanted. I wanted more like of a worsted. And I went through so many different yarns, and I couldn't find anything I liked. And then it dawned on me very late at night that if you hold two strands of fingering together, you get a worsted. And immediately I went to my stash and I found what I wanted to use. If you remember last year, Joanne had some yarn they were calling hand dyed.
Oh yeah.
But I bought some 100% cotton, and again, I had one skein each of two different colors, and I didn't know what I was going to make with them. So they became, held together, they became the other half of my scarf. So one of these was a purple speckle, so it's a white background with purple speckles. And then the other yarn has a little bit of a sparkle to it. And it is called Periwinkle. And together, they are my infinity scarf.
I had no idea you created a textile like that.
So what I did with the finger weight yarns, one side is back loop only, so I have a little bit of texture, and so I did back loop only every other row so that my texture only appeared on one side of the yarn. So I can wear it double, and it'll basically like come down to my waist. We'll put in a picture. But it is also long enough for me to actually triple. And now I get all of this coziness around my neck.
Nice.
So they had two versions of this yarn at Joanne. One was 100% cotton, and that's what I used here. They don't seem to have the cotton anymore, but you can still get the 100% merino. I saw that on their website. But it's called KNC, which stands for knit and crochet, and they were calling the yarn, like the name of the yarn was hand dyed, so it's not actually hand dyed, but you know.
KNC hand
like
dyed.
If you like hand dye. I'm stuck in my scarf. Okay. But I'm thrilled with how she came out. I had put together a whole cute little outfit with it, with some purple and, okay, let's calm it down. But I love it. Oh my gosh. So if you remember we talked about our ideological underpinnings for our making this year. And one of the things I want to do is make more accessories. And so I started my year off with a cute little accessory. And man, am I happy with it. She's cute. She's cozy. I love the solid and the stripe together. I actually have an idea for like a different version of a scarf that's part solid, part striped. Gonna be working on that one soon. But yeah, I ended up making it. I don't remember how wide it was, but I had a store-bought infinity scarf, and I basically just used that to take my measurements from.
Yeah.
And it's just giving me this really full, cozy scarf. I never do stuff like on this scale, like really big like this. So this was fun for me. This was, first of all, she went pretty quickly.
Sure did.
This only took a few days to make. But although all the yarns that like I didn't end up using, I wound those. So that took a little time because I was winding a lot of yarn and then not using it. But eventually I did have a finished scarf. And I love it. So she's actually just half and half.
Wow.
With the purple and the stripe.
And it comes together so dramatically for being such a simple construction.
So this is actually the third thing I've made with a tied-on yarn. I think I can now safely say that that's kind of my thing, because I made a vest with Ellen Cooper's Yarn Sonnets, and then I made a skirt from another Feza yarn. I think that was called Alp Oriental. And that one came with these fun little tassels, so I added them to the bottom of the skirt, so I have like this great fringe. And now I have my scarf. I'm a fan. I like, you know what? Because I like to keep things simple. This is all seam crochet. Tied-on yarns give you texture. They give you kind of a, they give you a little bit of wow factor without you having to do anything. You don't have to change the way you work, and you don't have to change the kind of stitches you use, and you'll still just get, so my skirt technically, she kind of widens and narrows a little bit just because there's so many different yarns in here that the gauge is all over the place. So some of these are really fine eyelash yarns, and then there's like a really thick ribbon yarn in here and everything in between. And I did carry the yarn up the side, which you can see a little bit, but who cares? Like, I'm fine with it. But yeah, it was so simple. It was a very relaxing make, I have to say. I feel like this was a great project to just start my maker's year off with.
And you got so much drama out of it.
I know.
So drama.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Because it's almost like I have like two different scarves on, but in one, and just happy. Very happy. So that is my first project of the year.